Hello everyone, Harry Baldock here, editor at Total Telecom. Today it's my pleasure to be joined by Ankit Agarwal, CEO of Connectivity Solutions at the fibre specialist Sterlite Technologies Limited, perhaps better known as STL. We're here today to talk about fibre infrastructure, particularly in the European market, and Ankit's thoughts about the future of the industry in 2021. Ankit, thank you very much for joining me today.
On behalf of STL, thank you for this opportunity to Total Telecom for having me.
It's great to have you. STL is, of course, continuously expanding its solution offerings. Can you talk us through the complete portfolio you offer your customers?
Sure. So at STL, erstwhile Sterlite Technologies, we've been in the industry for more than 25 years. We've built an extremely strong portfolio across the entire network. We truly believe that this convergence of network is happening when we look at 5G, when we look at fiber to the X, and on the other side, the enterprise applications that are coming up. We truly believe that the network will require this combination of innovations across the wireline and wireless. This is exactly the play that STL is focused on. We have a full portfolio of solutions. When we look at the optical interconnect, when we look at networks, services and system integration, we look at software such as OSS, BSS, as well as the access solutions. Especially when we look at both ORAN as well as programmable fiber to the X. So this is the full portfolio that we have. We're very proud to be partnering with tier 1 customers globally to provide these solutions. We believe that these are very exciting times ahead.
With FTTH accelerating across Europe, how do you see this trend continuing? And more generally, what are your views on the current telecom infrastructure in the region?
I believe that we're just at the tipping point of the network creation. When you look at Europe in particular, but also globally, there is clearly a strong focus on building out the networks. This has further, of course, been accelerated by the recent COVID events where work from home and has been accelerated. So we clearly see that not only are the governments looking to invest in building the networks, but also private equity and other players are looking to invest significantly in building out these networks. When we look at Europe, particularly 2 or 3 geographies need significant investment. UK and also Germany in particularly stand out, where less than 5% of the networks actually have full fiber broadband. A lot of that is either copper, DSL networks, etc. So we really believe that 2 or 3 of these geographies will really spend disproportionate amount of investment to build out the fiber networks. There are other parts of Europe, such as Spain, such as Poland and others, which are far ahead and are continuing to invest. But we believe that overall Europe really needs to catch up. The other extremes, when you look at globally, are countries like Japan, South Korea, and even now parts of China, where more than 70, 80, or even 90% of the broadband connections are on fiber. And they're enjoying very, very fast, superior speeds, even going up to 1 gigabit per second going into each of the homes.
Let's talk a little bit more about fiber and 5G. One of the things we've seen in the past couple of years is that around the world, 5G network rollouts have been delayed time and time again. In your opinion, how much of this delay is due to a lack of adequate fiber infrastructure?
Yeah, I think that there is a clear understanding and belief both from the telecom operators, service providers, as well as the government, that there is significant more investment required in building out this fiber infrastructure that we were just talking about. I think that clearly one of the key trends from a technology perspective is that you will have somewhere in the range of 10 to 20 times more small cells required just to ensure that you get the right coverage, especially in a 5G scenario. And clearly each of these small cells require both fiber as well as power connectivity. So I think that's a very important element of the network why you will need to invest a lot more in the fiber. At the same time, we're also seeing that it is becoming increasingly important to build a network which caters to multiple requirements. So what we're talking about is almost carpet coverage of major cities globally for building out the fiber, where operators are now thinking that I need to cover every square kilometer or every square meter of these cities. And today and tomorrow, they may be for multiple applications such as 5G, such as fiber to the enterprise, fiber to the small cell, fiber to my towers, for smart city applications, and many more. So I think this is where the operators are looking at making these large investments. I think there has been some delay of the 5G spectrum auctions as well, particularly in a few geographies. Government has to look at this very quickly to make sure that the sufficient spectrum and also at the right price points are provided so that the operators have enough investment capability left to actually put the money in the infrastructure rather than just on the spectrum. And the last part that we think is very, very important, this is as much a problem in Europe as much as globally, is to really ensure that the right approval processes are there to actually deploy the fiber, where typically we see a lot of challenges with getting permits, or whether it is a cost issue or a time issue or a process issue. There are significant delays that we see across Europe, especially in the UK as well, but also in Germany, France, and other places where there's been significant delays or costs associated with getting the permits. So I think that has to also get sorted out to enable a much faster fiber rollout.
Of course, another interesting part of the story is OpenRAN. So far, 4 of Europe's largest telecom operators have pledged their support for the new technology. What's your take on this?
We are very excited with the whole OpenRAN move. We've been a key participant, also contributing to the OpenRAN initiative. I think it's particularly exciting to see that some of the large operators like Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom, Orange, and others are taking a strong, focused effort on not just participating in ORAN discussions, but actively deploying it in their networks. And I think that's a great step forward, because ultimately it has to be validated by deploying it in the field and learning from it. It will be an iterative process. There are many learnings that are already coming out from these field deployments. And I think this is clearly stated to only increase. I think the market just for ORAN will be north of $8 to $10 billion in the next few years, and will start taking up a significant share of overall radio market, which is in the range of $80 to $100 billion. And this will be a clear trend. I think one of the key elements that all of us are looking at, including STL, is how do you look at providing the end-to-end system integration for the telecom operators and service providers. That's an important element, because the operators are ultimately looking at one neck to hold. And how do we put that all together? How do we provide the same comfort? At the same time, by using these OpenRAN solutions, how do you provide extra intelligence or extra opportunities for cost saving as well as extra intelligence at the edge? I think these are important elements for ORAN. Just a link to that, I think, is clearly one of the large applications of 5G will be enterprise more than even consumer. And again, there ORAN can play a very important role, whether it is the large cells, the macro cells, or the small cells. How do you provide those edge services with low latency? I think ORAN can play a very, very important role.
Related to this, do you think operators are ready for network convergence or even network sharing?
I think that's a very, very important element of the network development. We believe that fundamentally you have operators with different schools of thought, but by and large, we are starting to see a huge focus on where to prioritize in the network, right? So you're seeing a large amount of operators essentially taking their tower assets, an example, and hiving that off, and then utilizing, and the monetization of those tower assets are then being used to fund back into building the infrastructure. So I think that's one very important development. We're seeing that in India, we've seen that now in Europe, and many other operators are very actively looking to monetize their tower assets. We believe that a similar initiative is already happening on that basis with fiber. And also we believe that network sharing is just a natural progression of that, where ultimately the telecom operators will compete on services rather than just on the infrastructure that they hold. I think that's only a function of time. We're already seeing that in various models globally. There are some very interesting open infrastructure models that are already existing now. You have open fiber, you have open reach, and there are many more that are coming up in other parts of Europe. So we believe that this is a very important trend. The operators are all looking at how do you save the capex and opex, and at the same time compete on differentiated services and personalized services, both for consumer and enterprise. So I think this is a natural trajectory for the operators, and we're also looking at solutions at STL and how do we enable this for the service operators.
In the recent past, we've seen STL ramping up its presence in Europe. What can we expect in this market from the next few years?
So STL is very excited about the network evolution that we're seeing, and also the strong investment and focus in Europe. We've been committed to this market. We've been an active player in this market for more than 15 years. We work with almost every large telecom operator and some of these large emerging service providers that are coming up. We clearly see that our role is moving from historically, which had been an optic fiber provider, to being more and more of this end-to-end 5G solutions provider. I think that's a very, very interesting opportunity for us. we clearly see that the governments and the service providers are fully committed to making these network investments, and they're looking at players like STL who can step forward and provide this end-to-end network. At the same time, it's incredibly important, the software element of it, where operators are looking at these kind of disaggregated solutions. Ultimately, that we have to provide key insights into the consumer users, provide differentiated services for the consumer. And I think that will be enabled by some of the solutions that STL has to offer. At our core offering of the optic fiber cable and connectivity, we're also providing more and more differentiated solutions. We've invested significantly in Europe. We have operations today. We have 2 operations, in fact, in Italy, in either parts of Milan. We already have a data center operation out of the UK, which is operating across Europe. And we have a very strong technical and sales teams across Europe to cater to the individual requirements across the service providers. So we're very excited with Europe. We're keen to continue to invest both in assets as well as teams in Europe, and we look forward to, as this network evolves towards 5G, that Sterlite plays a key role in making it happen.
Ankit, it's been really fascinating talking to you today. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Harry. My pleasure.